EVs might have been the future of the industry, but this new engine will be the end of them. Imagine cruising down the street in your shiny new ride and everything feels different. No rumbling engine, no exhaust fumes, just pure clean power. Sounds like science fiction, right? Or an EV. Well, GM's about to make this a reality, and it's going to be better than electric engines. It's more convenient, cheaper, and most of all greener. How? Well, it uses air as a power source and works similar to ICEs, which means a transition wouldn't be that hard. This bad boy will change everything we know about cars, and I mean everything. Why is this a big deal? When a big player like GM goes all in, you know it's going to shake things up. But I know what you're thinking. We've seen a lot of new engines that promised improvement, and they didn't deliver. But this isn't some far-off dream or a concept that will never see the light of day. GM's putting their money where their mouth is, and they're determined to bring this tech to your driveway. To be honest, they don't have any other option right now, with their EV plans failing and bleeding money every day. This is a make-or-break-it moment for them. But the good thing is that this nifty piece of engineering operates on a pretty straightforward concept, using compressed air to make pistons do their magic. So how does this exactly work? First up, let's talk about air compression. The first process is sucking in air into a compression chamber, pumping up the pressure until it's ready to unleash its power. This is very much like packing a suitcase tightly until you can barely zip it up. It's intense, right? And once all that air is cozied up in the chamber, it's time for a party. When the pressure hits that sweet spot, it bursts free, shoving the piston outward with a burst of energy. This magic moment turns the potential energy of the pressurized air into kinetic energy, a fancy way to say it gets things moving. Imagine letting off a tightly held balloon. The rush of air is just that exhilarating. Now, when the piston pushes out to do its job, it doesn't just hang out there. After doing its duty, the piston has to make its grand return for another cycle, right? So what do they do to make this happen? Simply enter the spring mechanism that helps the piston slide back into its cozy spot, like a well-trained boomerang getting ready for its next throw. So what's next? This is where the magic really shines. The whole process keeps cycling, providing continuous motion as long as there's enough air supply. It's like a never-ending game of tag, but with the air as the star player. Who knew something so simple could work out so effortlessly? It really makes you wonder why no one has ever tried it before, but they actually have. Ready for a mind-blowing fact? The story of compressed air vehicles goes way back. Way back. We're talking 19th century old. Imagine strolling through the streets of Paris, and instead of horse-drawn carriages, you see sleek trams gliding by, powered by nothing but air. It's pretty cool. Now you might be thinking, if air-powered vehicles were so awesome, why aren't we all driving them now? What happened to them? Short answer, the internal combustion engine, the muscular new kid on the block that knocked air power off its pedestal. But some people didn't just lose hope yet. In the early 2010s, Peugeot made something incredible. They've cooked up this crazy hybrid powertrain that combines a regular gas engine with, get this, compressed air technology. They called it hybrid air, and they showed it off in a tricked-out Peugeot 2008 crossover. We're talking a hydraulic motor unit paired with a compressed air energy storage system, all working alongside a conventional gas engine. It's like they took the best of both worlds and mashed them together. But here's where it gets really juicy. This bad boy promised fuel economy that would make a Prius faint. We're talking up to 81 mpg in normal driving conditions, and in the city, it could have been even better. Oh, and did I mention, it was supposed to be cheap. Peugeot claimed this air-breathing beast would be 45% more affordable than those fancy electric hybrids. That's right, eco-friendly and wallet-friendly, the dream team. Plus, this system was so green it made EVs jealous. No rare earth elements, no lithium, just good old-fashioned air. So, what happened? Why are we all zooming around in air-powered cars, laughing at gas prices? Well, that's where things get a bit murky. Despite all the hype and promise, Peugeot quietly shelved the project. It's like they threw a massive party, got everyone excited, and then ghosted us all. Not cool. Now, we don't know exactly why they pulled the plug, but maybe the tech was trickier to implement in the real world than they thought. You know how sometimes things work great on paper but fall flat in practice? It could have been like that. Or perhaps it was a money thing. Even though it was supposed to be cheaper than electric hybrids, it might have still been too pricey to make a profit. After all, car companies aren't charities, they've got to make that sweet dollar. There's also a chance that electric cars just started taking the spotlight. And let's not forget corporate shenanigans. PSA Group, now part of a megacorp Stellantis, might have just decided to put their eggs in a different basket. You know how it is with big companies. Sometimes they do the opposite of what they're expected to do. For now, though, Peugeot's hybrid air system remains one of those tantalizing what could have been stories in the automotive world. The good thing is that it shows GM what not to do, but Peugeot's not the only one who tried this. There is one more car that achieved riding with only air, and the stats on this bad boy are pretty impressive, so let me break it down for you. This little urban warrior could supposedly cruise for about 125 miles on a single tank of air, and the Airpods exhaust? Pure clean air. That's right, folks, the only thing coming out of this car's tailpipe is the same stuff you use to fill balloons at birthday parties. Can you imagine a world where traffic jams actually clean the air? And get this, it could reach speeds of up to 43 miles an hour. Okay, so you won't be winning any drag races, but it's perfect for zipping around the city and making all your fossil fuel burning neighbors green with envy. And you know how annoying it is to wait for your electric car to charge? Well, the Airpod was supposed to take just a few minutes to refill. And just like Peugeot, Tata claimed this air-powered wonder would be cheaper to make and maintain than your average gas guzzler or even an electric car. And it's like they found the holy grail of affordable, eco-friendly transportation. So with all these amazing features, why aren't we all cruising around in Airpods right now? Well, as with any groundbreaking idea, there were a few bumps in the road. For starters, compressed air just doesn't pack the same punch as gasoline or batteries when it comes to energy density. It's like trying to power your house with a hamster wheel. Cute idea, but not exactly practical. Then there's the whole infrastructure issue. Sure, air is everywhere, but those high-pressure filling stations, not so much. It's kind of like inventing an amazing new ice cream flavor but forgetting to make the cones. You've got a great product but no way to deliver it to the masses. So what's so special about this one? Now, we all know that it's not a new concept, but GM's turbocharged it for the 21st century. You see, GM's not just recycling old ideas, they're innovating like there's no tomorrow. First up, let's talk about the turbocharging trick. GM's cooked up these high-pressure air tanks that are so powerful, they're giving traditional gas engines a run for their money. And they've turned the entire car chassis into one giant air tank. It's like they've taken the think outside the box mantra and applied it to the whole damn car. Now, you might be thinking, won't all that pressurized air turn my car into a rolling bomb? Well, that's a good question, but GM's got that covered with some seriously incredible materials. They're using something called fiber-reinforced thermoplastics, which is just a fancy way of saying really strong, really light plastic. It's the same stuff they use in those insane racing cars that look like they're going a million miles an hour, even when they're standing still. But it gets even better. GM isn't just trying to make a cool car here, they're on a mission to save the planet. And for all you speed demons out there, don't worry, GM hasn't forgotten about you. This air-powered wonder isn't just eco-friendly, it's also a performance beast. Thanks to the turbocharging and those lightweight materials, you're looking at a car that can go fast without guzzling gas. GM's basically took everything we thought we knew about cars, tossed it out the window and said, "Hold my beer." But as with anything that sounds too good to be true, there are some catches. There are still lots of things to think about. Why is it not here? First up, let's talk about reliability. You know that friend who's always promising to show up but ends up flaking at the last minute? That's kind of what GM's 2.7 turbo engine is like. It's got a nasty habit of guzzling oil like it's going out of style, and sometimes the turbocharger decides to call it quits altogether. Not exactly what you want when you're cruising down the highway, right? Plus, despite GM's advancements, these bad boys run hot, and while GM's trying their best to keep things cool, all that heat can really take a toll on the engine's performance and lifespan. It's like trying to run a marathon in a sauna, not exactly a recipe for longevity. And speaking of durability, maintenance of owning a turbocharged engine is kind of like having a high-maintenance pet. You've got to stick to a pretty strict schedule of oil changes and checkups to keep everything running smoothly. Miss a few of these and you might find yourself with a very expensive paperweight sitting in your driveway. And it's like the saying, it's not about how you perform in practice, it's about how you perform in the game. Well, turbocharged engines might be all-stars in the lab, but in the real world they can be a bit of a letdown. Sure, they've got power, but when it comes to fuel efficiency, especially when you're hauling a load or stuck in stop-go traffic, they might not live up to the hype. It's like ordering a salad to be healthy and then drowning in a ranch dressing. Kinda defeats the purpose, doesn't it? So if it's this hard, why is GM this dedicated to making it a reality? Now, don't get me wrong, every company dabbles in research and new tech, but GM seems to be so committed to this idea. So what are their intentions? They've been on a mission to revolutionize the industry. Mary Barra, GM's fearless leader, has her sights set on a zero-emission future. It's a noble goal, right? And they thought EVs were the future, but in their rush to catch up with Tesla and dominate the EV market, they've hit some serious snags. So this is their way, their only hope, sort of. Let me explain. Remember when the Chevy Bolt rolled onto the scene, promising to be the electric car for everyone and their grandma? It was like Christmas morning for eco-warriors and tech geeks alike. But as it turns out, not all that glitters is gold, or in this case, not all that's electric is profitable. Let's take a trip down memory lane, when GM finally unveiled the Bolt, and suddenly everyone's talking about how we're finally getting an affordable EV that doesn't look like it belongs in a Pixar movie. It was supposed to be the people's champion, the four-wheeled Robin Hood, stealing market share from the rich Teslas and giving it to the masses. Exciting stuff, right? And at first, things were looking pretty sweet. The Bolt was turning heads. New customers were flocking to GM dealerships, probably daydreaming about zooming past gas stations with a smug grin. And let's be real, who doesn't love the idea of never having to smell gasoline on their hands again? But here's where things get a bit shocking. While the Bolt was busy winning hearts and minds on the streets, it was also busy draining GM's bank account. You see, every time a shiny new Bolt rolled off the lot, GM's accountants were probably reaching for the antacids. The production costs were so high that GM was essentially saying, here's a cutting-edge EV, and we'll pay you to take it off our hands. But GM didn't just give up on making EVs, not yet. And GM's not just dipping their toes into the EV waters, oh no. They're cannonballing in with big dreams. We're talking ambitions so tall, they make the Empire State Building look like a Lego block. And they didn't know that the road to electric dominance is turning out to be bumpier than a pothole-filled street after a harsh winter. The lost fight. The automotive world is a battlefield, and right now, the electric vehicle sector is where the fiercest battles are being fought. One of the giants, General Motors, is caught in the crossfire of a brutal price war that's reshaping the industry. Tesla and Ford, two of GM's biggest rivals, are slashing prices left and right, trying to outmaneuver each other and grab the largest piece of the EV pie. Tesla drops its prices significantly, and Ford follows suit with cuts to the Mustang Mach-E, all in a bid to lure more customers. This aggressive pricing creates a ton of pressure on GM to join the fray. But here's the twist. GM CEO Mary Barra isn't biting. She's sticking to her guns, saying that GM's prices already reflect the demand for their vehicles, and there's no need to drop them just to match the competition. It's a bold move, but is it the right one? Remember back in 2005 when they slashed prices, only to see it backfire with long-term negative consequences. They're clearly not looking to repeat that mistake. This time, they're focusing on keeping each vehicle profitable, even if it means selling fewer cars. It's a cautious approach, but in a market where everyone else is playing fast and loose with their prices, it might just pay off. But by refusing to dive into the price-cutting frenzy, GM is playing a dangerous game with its market share. Sure, they believe their current pricing will keep customers interested, but what if it doesn't? In an economy where every dollar counts, especially with interest rates climbing and car loans getting more expensive, consumers might start looking for cheaper alternatives. And if GM's rivals are offering similar vehicles at lower prices, it's not hard to imagine where some buyers might go. GM's bet is that their quality and brand reputation will keep buyers loyal, but that's a big gamble. But remember the good old days when GM was synonymous with reliability? When owning a GM car was like having a trusty golden retriever, loyal, dependable, and always ready to go. Well, those days are fading quickly. These days, GM's recalling more cars more often. Brake fluid leaks, stubborn daytime running lights, it's like they're playing automotive bingo with defects. Did they forget the car while trying to reinvent the wheel? So let me ask, will they come out on top with their strategy? The company has decided it's willing to sacrifice some short-term sales volume to keep its profits healthy in the long run. But here's another wrinkle in GM's plan. What do the customers think? When Tesla and Ford are lowering their prices, people naturally start expecting the same from GM. And if GM doesn't deliver, there's a big risk that customers might feel a bit cheated. That could hurt their brand loyalty, especially if they perceive GM as being out of touch or uncompetitive. In the long run, keeping prices steady might be smart for GM's bottom line, but if it alienates customers, it could cost them more than just sales. Plus, the current economic climate isn't doing GM any favors either. With interest rates climbing and inflation biting into people's wallets, monthly car payments are shooting up. This makes buying a new car, particularly an EV, a tougher pill to swallow for many customers. By not lowering prices, GM is protecting its profit margins, but they could be pricing out a significant chunk of the market. In an economy where people are becoming more price-sensitive, GM's decision not to engage in the price war could limit their appeal to cost-conscious buyers. Why am I telling you this? Well, I just want to paint the picture of where GM is sitting on right, and this engine is not just about making a new fancy tech, it's about survival. They might have already lost the EV fight. But what are your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.